Every animated movie from Disney and Pixar teaches children the exact same fundamental lesson. If you work hard enough, if you are kind to others, and if you truly believe in yourself, you can be absolutely anything you want to be. But there is one specific franchise that completely shatters that beautiful, optimistic illusion. The Cars universe is the only Pixar world that teaches a horrifyingly different, deeply cynical lesson. In this world, you cannot chase your dreams. You cannot change your destiny. You cannot choose your profession. Your entire life, your social status, and your sole purpose for existing are violently and permanently decided for you the exact second you roll off the assembly line. Welcome to Dark Engine. Today, we are going to expose the darkest, most oppressive element of the Cars universe that the creators desperately tried to hide behind bright colors and catchy country music. We are going to look at the biological caste system, and we are going to prove that one of the most beloved, cheerful characters in the entire first movie is not a best friend at all. He is a genetically engineered slave, suffering from severe neurological torture, existing entirely for the benefit of the racing elite. Today, we are opening the medical file on Mack the transport truck. Let us engage our cold, analytical logic for a moment. In the human world, social mobility exists. If you are born into poverty, you have the potential to go to school, learn a new skill, change your career, and become a wealthy executive. Your physical body does not restrict your societal role in the universe. Now, look at the biological reality of the Cars universe. In this world, social mobility is a physical impossibility. Your destiny is 100% hardwired into your exoskeleton. Your chassis is your permanent prison. Lightning McQueen is rich, popular, and successful, but he is not successful simply because he practiced hard on the dirt track. He is successful because he won the absolute genetic lottery. He was born into the highest possible caste. He was manufactured as an elite sports car, gifted with flawless aerodynamics, a powerful racing engine, and a body designed purely for glory, speed, and absolute freedom. But what happens if you do not win that genetic lottery? What happens if you are born as a forklift, like the character Guido? You have a mind, you have a soul. You feel happiness, sadness, and ambition just like Lightning McQueen does. But instead of normal tires or hands, you have solid metal prongs growing directly out of the front of your biological body. You cannot become a racer. You cannot become a television host. You are a biological screwdriver. You were created by the universe to spend your entire existence on your knees in a pit lane, changing the tires of the genetic elite. And that brings us to the lowest, most heavily exploited class in this entire fictional society. The living containers. The beasts of burden. The semi-trucks. I need you to look very closely at Mack and ask yourself who he really is. In our human reality, a truck is just a machine made of steel and wires, driven by a human being who gets a paycheck and goes home to their family. But in the world of Pixar, Mack is a sentient, living, breathing organism. He has a central nervous system. He feels physical pain. He requires rest to survive. But unlike Lightning McQueen, whose anatomy was designed for adulation, Mack's anatomy was designed exclusively for brutal, unrelenting exploitation. Look at his physical structure. His actual living body is just the front cab. That massive, heavy metal trailer permanently attached to his spine is not his home. It is a luxurious, mobile penthouse apartment built specifically for Lightning McQueen. Biologically speaking, Lightning McQueen uses the physical body of Mack as a living taxi service. Mack is the automotive equivalent of a pack mule. He has no freedom to choose a different path in life. He cannot suddenly decide to drop the trailer and be a sports car. He was engineered, manufactured, and brought into this world with one singular, inescapable purpose. He exists to drag the heavy, privileged elite across the country on his back until his engine eventually gives out and he dies. And the most terrifying part is that the society of the Cars universe accepts this biological slavery as perfectly normal. The racing syndicates, the corporate sponsors, the screaming fans in the stadiums, they never look at Mack and see a living individual with basic rights. They look at his massive chassis and they see a logistical tool. They see a piece of heavy equipment. This brings us to the most disturbing, physically abusive scene in the entire first film. The long drive to California. I want you to completely erase the cheerful music from your memory and watch this scene through the lens of medical science. Mack is driving down a dark, empty highway in the middle of the night. He is physically exhausted. We see his eyes struggling to stay open. His eyelids are drooping. His engine is undoubtedly overheating from pulling a massive trailer across multiple state lines without a proper cool-down period. His cognitive functions are actively failing him. In real human medicine, what Mack is experiencing is known as critical sleep deprivation. This is not just a feeling of being tired. This is a severe physiological crisis. When an organism is deprived of sleep for an extended period of time, the brain begins to shut down localized regions to force the body into recovery. It destroys the nervous system. It leads to hallucinations, motor function failure, and eventually, total cardiac arrest. What Mack is going through on that highway is a literal form of biological torture. Now look at what Lightning McQueen does in this scenario. Lightning McQueen is sitting comfortably inside the warm, luxurious, fully furnished trailer. He is not doing any physical labor. He is resting. Mack, the lower-class organism, politely begs his employer to pull over at a truck stop so he can safely sleep and recover his failing vitals. Mack is asking for the most basic biological right required to sustain life. And Lightning McQueen directly refuses. Lightning McQueen selfishly and arrogantly commands Mack to keep driving through the night. I need you to fully process the sheer cruelty of this moment. A wealthy, genetically superior athlete is explicitly ordering a lower-class laborer to ignore a critical biological failure simply because the athlete wants to arrive at his destination slightly faster. Lightning McQueen is literally forcing Mack to risk a catastrophic engine failure or a fatal crash. He is prioritizing his own convenience over the very life of the creature carrying him. And what happens next? Medical science takes over. Mack cannot fight his own failing biology. He begins to hallucinate. His vision blurs completely out of focus. He loses control over his steering column. These are not just funny cartoon moments added for comedic effect. These are microsleeps. These are severe neurological misfires happening inside his central processing unit because his brain is suffocating from exhaustion. He begins to swerve across the lanes, narrowly avoiding devastating collisions. And when the tuner cars pull up alongside him and play aggressive music, they easily push him around because Mack is practically unconscious. He is in a medically induced state of extreme vulnerability. When Mack inevitably swerves, causing the trailer door to open and sending Lightning McQueen falling out onto the dark highway, pay very close attention to how the narrative of the movie frames this incident. The movie portrays Lightning McQueen as the ultimate victim. The movie wants you to feel sorry for Lightning McQueen because he is lost in the dark desert and has to spend time in a dirty, forgotten town called Radiator Springs doing manual labor. The narrative completely ignores the fact that Lightning McQueen brought this entirely upon himself through extreme negligence and abuse of his driver. Nobody in the film ever holds Lightning McQueen accountable for forcing his servant to operate a heavy vehicle while suffering from critical neurological exhaustion. Nobody checks on Mack. Nobody asks if Mack survived the night. Mack wakes up hours later, realizes his cargo is missing, and is consumed by sheer panic. But he is not panicking because he misses his best friend. He is panicking because he knows he is a biological servant who just lost the most valuable asset of a multi-million-dollar corporation. He knows that if he arrives in California without Lightning McQueen, the Rust-eze Corporation will not hesitate to destroy his career, strip him of his parts, and send him directly to the scrapyard. Let us rewind and look at the truck stop that Mack so desperately wanted to pull into earlier that night. When the camera pans across that parking lot, we see dozens of other massive semi-trucks. It is a dark, depressing, grimy location. It is an automotive slum. It is filled with exhausted, overworked beasts of burden trying to steal 1 or 2 hours of sleep before their corporate masters force them back onto the asphalt. This scene confirms that Mack's torture is not an isolated incident. It is a systemic, industry-wide practice. The racing corporations do not view these transport trucks as equal employees. They view them as disposable conveyor belts. They pump them full of cheap, low-grade diesel fuel, which acts as a biological stimulant, and they send them out into the dark to drive until their transmissions shatter into pieces. The entire logistics network of the Piston Cup is built entirely on the broken backs and the forced insomnia of the truck caste. If a racer gets a tiny scratch on their paint, they get a team of medical professionals polishing them. If a truck blows a gasket from sheer exhaustion, they are simply replaced by the next desperate organism rolling off the assembly line. But the absolute darkest, most depressing layer to Mack's character is his psychological state. Throughout the entire franchise, Mack is shown to be incredibly cheerful. He wears a Rust Ease hat. He smiles constantly. He is Lightning McQueen's biggest fan. How can a creature who is so brutally exploited be so happy? In the fields of psychology and criminology, this is easily identifiable. Mack is suffering from a textbook case of Stockholm Syndrome. He has been genetically programmed by his creators to find absolute joy in his own subjugation. He does not realize that he is a slave. He does not realize that his relationship with Lightning McQueen is entirely parasitic. Lightning McQueen drains Mack of his physical energy, risks Mack's life on the highway, and offers absolutely nothing of value in return. But Mack has been conditioned by society to believe that carrying the elite is the highest possible honor in the world. He worships the very system that is actively grinding his chassis into dust. He thinks Lightning McQueen is his friend, but the harsh reality is that Lightning McQueen would never invite Mack to a luxury party in Los Angeles. Lightning McQueen would never share his premium high-octane fuel with a transport truck. Mack is kept outside. He is parked in the loading docks with the garbage. He is a second-class citizen who has been completely brainwashed into defending his own oppressors. And consider the finale of the first movie. When Lightning McQueen finally makes it to the Los Angeles International Speedway, everyone praises him for his newfound humility. Everyone claps because he learned how to be a nice guy in Radiator Springs. But does he ever apologize to Mack? Does Lightning McQueen ever pull Mack aside and say that he is incredibly sorry that he forced him to drive through the night, risked his biological safety, and caused him to suffer a mental breakdown on the highway? No, he does not. The film completely brushes past the abuse. Mack is simply happy that his master has returned safely. Mack smiles and resumes his position as the loyal beast of burden, ready to pack up the heavy trailer and carry the elite champion to the next city, completely unaware that his life will never, ever be his own. This terrifying realization about Mack's existence forces us to re-examine the entire social structure of the Cars universe. If Mack is a biological slave, genetically engineered to haul cargo, and Guido is a biological tool, born with metal forks instead of hands, what does that say about the rest of the world? It tells us that Pixar has quietly created the most rigid, inescapable, and biologically deterministic dystopia in modern fiction. Let us look closely at another character who perfectly illustrates the absolute cruelty of this caste system. In the first movie, when Lightning McQueen is sentenced to community service in Radiator Springs, he is forced to pull a massive, heavy machine called Bessie. Bessie is the road paving machine. She is a giant, boiling vat of toxic, molten tar. For years, fans assumed that Bessie was just a regular, non-sentient piece of construction equipment, just a mindless tool. But if you analyze the rules of this universe, that assumption completely falls apart. In the Cars universe, everything with a motor is alive. The tiny Volkswagen bugs buzzing around the street lamps are alive. The massive combine harvester Frank is alive. Even the tractors who act like mindless cattle are biological organisms. Therefore, by the fundamental laws established by Pixar, Bessie must also be a living creature. But look at her design. Bessie has no eyes. She has no windshield. She has no mouth, no voice, and no independent means of propulsion. She cannot move on her own. She just sits there, bubbling and occasionally spitting hot tar onto Lightning McQueen when he pulls her too fast. If Bessie is alive, her existence is a living nightmare that defies human comprehension. She is a sentient organism that has been biologically lobotomized. Whoever manufactured Bessie intentionally designed her without sensory organs. They removed her ability to see the world, her ability to speak, and her ability to walk. They reduced a living consciousness to nothing more than a biological incubator for boiling, toxic sludge. She is a prisoner, trapped in total darkness, dragged around by a heavy metal chain, completely dependent on the mercy of others just to move from one end of the town to the other. Why would society create such a horrifying entity? Because in a biological caste system, efficiency is prioritized over empathy. Society needed roads paved, but they didn't want the elite cars or even the middle-class cars doing the dirty, dangerous work. So, they engineered a creature whose sole, miserable purpose in life is to boil tar in its own stomach. Bessie is the absolute bottom of the caste system. She is a biological slave, stripped of even the most basic physical dignities. When you understand the tragedy of Bessie, the tragedy of Guido, and the tragedy of Mack, the shiny, colorful world of the Piston Cup suddenly looks like a dystopian propaganda film. The racing circuit, the massive stadiums, the flashing cameras, they are all designed to distract the population from the horrifying reality of how their society actually functions. The elite sports cars like Lightning McQueen, Jackson Storm, and Francesco Bernoulli are paraded around as heroes. The media tells the lower classes, the trucks, the forklifts, and the rusty old lemons to worship these racers. They are told to buy their merchandise, to drink their sponsored oil, and to dream of being just like them. But it is all a cruel biological lie. A forklift can never grow into a race car. A heavy transport truck can never shed its massive trailer and become a sleek, aerodynamic champion. The physical anatomy of these creatures is their permanent destiny. The elite cars maintain their power and wealth precisely because the system relies on the forced, uncompensated labor of millions of lower caste machines who have been brainwashed into accepting their lot in life. Mack will never be a champion. He will spend his entire life staring at the rear bumper of the elite. When his engine finally begins to fail, when the years of sleep deprivation and hauling heavy trailers across the country completely destroy his transmission, the Rust-eze Corporation will not pay for his retirement. They will not put him in a museum like Doc Hudson. When Mack can no longer pull his weight, he will be quietly disconnected from his trailer, driven to a dark, forgotten scrapyard, and crushed into a cube of scrap metal while the elite cars hire a newer, younger truck to take his place. And Mack, suffering from his deeply ingrained Stockholm Syndrome, will probably thank them for the opportunity to serve. Pixar is brilliant. They are absolute masters of storytelling. They know exactly how to use bright colors, catchy songs, and fast-paced action to distract the audience from the terrifying implications of the worlds they create. They made us laugh at Guido's funny accent. They made us cheer for Lightning McQueen's redemption. And they made us view Mack as just a goofy, lovable sidekick who got a little bit tired on the highway. They took a devastating, oppressive narrative about biological slavery, neurological torture, and an inescapable, genetically predetermined caste system, and they packaged it as a heartwarming family comedy. They sold us a lie, and we bought it. The next time you watch Cars, I challenge you to look past the racing. Look at the background characters. Look at the mechanics working in the pits, their bodies permanently deformed into tools. Look at the transport trucks lined up in the dark, exhausting their engines to move the wealth of the elite. Look at the terrifying, eyeless machine boiling tar in the desert. When you strip away the paint, the Cars universe is not a story about chasing your dreams. It is a grim, uncompromising warning about a society that categorizes its citizens by their physical utility, strips them of their autonomy, and forces them to literally work themselves to death in service of a privileged few. If this forensic dissection of Pixar's darkest franchise shattered your childhood illusions and made you look at Lightning McQueen in a completely different, horrifying light, then my job here is done. This is the core mission of Dark Engine. We don't just accept the happy endings handed to us by the studios. We put these movies under the microscope, we cut through the rust, and we expose the terrifying dystopian truths hiding beneath the chassis. If you want to support this kind of deep lore investigation, hit that like button right now. It is the only way to prove to the YouTube algorithm that there is a massive audience hungry for the real, uncensored truth behind these classic films. Subscribe to Dark Engine and make absolutely sure you ring that notification bell. We are currently analyzing the darkest, most heavily guarded secrets of the Toy Story and Finding Nemo universes, and you will not want to miss the biological horrors we are preparing to uncover in our next video. But before you go, I want to hear your thoughts. Head down into the comments section right now and tell me, do you think Mack ever realized that he was being exploited? Do you think the trucks in the Cars universe ever attempted to rebel against the racing elite? Or is their genetic programming too strong to break? I read through the darkest, most analytical theories you guys drop in the comments, and I will be pinning the absolute best, most thought-provoking one to the very top. Keep your engine oil clean. Never ignore the symptoms of exhaustion, and remember, in the universe of Pixar, the most terrifying monsters don't hide in the closet. They roll off the assembly line. I'll see you all in the dark.